Assalamualaikum, Shakur Sahab.
Walaikum salam. Alisa, I can hear you.
Hi.
So Alisa, people are joining, so we will be waiting for a few minutes and we will be joining inshallah.
Sure. I'm just sharing my screen. If you can just tell me if it's fine. Okay.
Yes, you can share, please. All right, so uh, let's start. So it is 3:05, so we can start now. So uh, first of all, I warmly welcome you all in this particular session, which is building a strategic FP&A session with Mr. Muhammad Ali Mooney. He is currently working as head of FP&A and Treasury in National Foods Limited, and previously he was leading the budgeting and forecasting session and budgeting and forecasting function in GSK as well. And he is qualified from here Ferguson. So thank you very much, Alisa, for your time. So over to you.
Thank you, Shakur sir. Thank you, LEXICON. It's indeed an honor and pleasure to be here. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very warm welcome, a good evening. Um, Thank you for the introduction. So, what we'll be talking today all about is how and what spirit should be there while we are setting about strategic FP&A function, right? So I've seen the evolution. I've been the part of GSK, a very sophisticated environment. There was a center of excellence in UK, which was centralizing all sort of reports, analysis, and then the business partner comes into play. And I have been working very closely for the last 4 years in National Foods, where I have been one of the critical pivot while sketching the how and what of the FP&A function and to secure the seat on the board or to secure the seat of the trust of the management. So I have both flavors, and what I'll try to do in the next 1 hour is that I'll try to take you guys through how the journey has been, what are my learning areas, what are the opportunities while we talk about FP&A and setting up the FP&A, and how we can further get a meat out of this function, right? Because all of you on this audio and this video call kind of have these conversations more often, right? What about finance, changing finance, automation, strategy, and all whatnot. But one thing which I feel very closely while I see in finance is some common mistakes which we do. And I think it's high time that we need to fix those patches so that at the end of the day, we are able to add value, what value is expected to us. Just setting the tone, right? International surveys of Deloitte, Gartner, they all say that automation and transformation is something which is the topmost priority of the CFOs of 2026. So FP&A is something which is beyond automation, something which is beyond merely producing reports, beyond merely having the spreadsheets compiled. It's something beyond. It's something where you kind of help business navigate the decisions while in uncertainty, right? So that would be the entire theme. I would really appreciate if I can have in the chat board the organization in which you're working. So I'll try to make my conversations resonate to what potentially your challenges could be. So you can just go into the chat box, you can write which organization you are currently working in, maybe at your designation. So that will be very helpful while we build momentum to this conversation. I'll keep 10 minutes at the end of this keynote speech for the question answer so that I can interact and help you guys if there's any pertinent question for you to take on, right? Let me just, can you confirm if my slide is visible to you?
Yes, Alisa, it is visible, but I think you can also turn it into a slide mode.
Sure. Uh,
Participants are requested to please share your names and your designation and organization in the chat window so that the speaker can have an audience analysis, please.
so
It is yes, it is perfectly fine now.
Okay, boss. Thank you for the confirmation. Let me just have a quick glance. Allama Iqbal Open University. Some professional colleagues. Nimra is here. Baker Tilly. Okay, thank you. Okay. Right. So, starting off with a very basic question, why FP&A exists? So, ladies and gentlemen, accounting is something which is very foundational, right? And by no means we can say that, okay, this is a function which probably is reducing its importance. No, that's not the case. I mean, this is the foundation which at the end of the day helps us help organization navigate where the organization would like to go into the near future. So you are the one who should answer the following questions. What will happen if the uncertainty goes on? Very pertinent example, war situation which were there these days, even linking it to the cost of oil, Brent oil increasing, right? So I'm pretty sure FP&A teams must have that model available, readily available, maybe on Claude or maybe other artificial intelligence tool, where you are telling your management or the leadership position that, okay, with this kind of Claude Brent oil movement, the packaging cost could go this way, right? Or for example, with this kind of potential forex volatility, our leverage scenario would go this way, right? So this is something which at the end of the day helps you gain the seat on the table. And remember, until and unless you don't have the trust of the management with you, the ability to perform is kind of compromises, right? Because your CEO should be confident enough to take you into the loop while he or she is making the decision, right? Many a times what happens is, and I've personally seen that FP&A is so much involved in analysis, Excel sheets after Excel sheets, that once your report is complete or once the set of reports are completed, the market dynamics changing. Me being the part of the FMCG, I can tell you one thing for sure. The pace of the market and the volatility is too fast, be it in the Pakistani or APAC region, be it in the GCC region, be it in the UK region, that you need to react fast, right? So the pace of reaction or the speed of reaction is something which is really, really essential. And what is something which will bring the speed of the reaction is to have your foundations right. So you need to make sure that, okay, your accounts, your spreadsheets are there and all fixed. एक चीज बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है. Your role is not to fix the broken links. Your role is not to fix the spreadsheets. Your role is to analyze, and the management also needs to understand if you're putting up FP&A resource and he's still struggling with the sanity of the master data, then probably this FP&A resource is something which won't be able to give that value which the FP&A resource should be giving. So while you are thinking on why FP&A exists, make sure that you are very clear on the role why FP&A exists. One litmus test. Go to your teams and ask your questions from your teams. In the last 1 week, what is the decision which they have impacted? If you get the right answer confidently, then okay, your FP&A is doing the right thing. But if you're still struggling in the working papers, then FP&A is something where you need to kind of step up, right? पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा में बात करूं तो दो तीन किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन. एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वो सेट है जिसके पास बहुत सारा पैसा, likes of Lucky, likes of AKD, likes of Arif Habib. So they are sitting at the helm of capital and they need resources who probably need to help them understand what better ROI could be. ये तो एक कॉमन उसूल है दुनिया का कि यू हैव लिमिटेड कैपिटल, यू हैव लिमिटेड पीपल, टैलेंट, रिसोर्सेज, एंड यू आर द वन हु कैन हेल्प एलोकेट रिसोर्सेज वाइजली, राइट? सो these sets need you to kind of come up, bridge the gap, help them understand and help them execute the strategy and be their eyes and ears. ये एक हो गई पाकिस्तान के मॉडल में एक किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. अब आते हैं दूसरी किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. दूसरी वो किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं where the setup is very mature, likes of Engro, likes of GSK, where there are headquarters, where there are strategy centers, where there are think tanks, where conglomerate is there, the strategy speaks something differently, and there the role of FP&A is, again, to assess what has happened and to help नेविगेट फ्यूचर. वहां पे आपको एक रिसेप्टिविटी, एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी ज्यादा नजर आएगी इन किस्म के रोल्स की, एंड यू हैव अ सेट फाउंडेशन टू परफॉर्म. जो पहली किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बता रहा था, वहां पे द नीड इज मच हायर बट द फाउंडेशन इज वीक. There you need to work kind both ways. You need to get your foundation strong and then you need to perform because the state needs your support. दूसरी किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, द फाउंडेशन इज वेरी सॉलिड and you just need to go and prove your skill and help the organizations achieve their objectives. अब आते हैं पाकिस्तानी मैकेनिक्स में तीसरी किस्म की ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. तीसरी, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है which is middle size SME type organization where the foundation is also weak, and you and your support is very required to make sure that you are not bleeding away, to make sure that the gross margins are at the sustainable level to make the right amount of money. बहुत सारी एग्जांपल हो सकती है. आई मीन फूड इंडस्ट्री में बात करूं, फॉर एग्जांपल नेशनल फूड्स हैज बीन वन ऑफ द प्लेयर जो कि एक लोकल ग्रोन एफएमसीजी बन गया. लोकली शुरू किया, पाकिस्तान में बिजनेस डेवलप किया, आज दुनिया में बिजनेस है. डॉन फूड की एग्जांपल लेते हैं, भी वो एफएमसीजी नहीं बना, एक लोकल बिजनेस है, 30 अरब की टॉप लाइन है. द कंपनी इज मनूवरिंग, राइट, कंपनी इज स्प्लैशिंग वाटर, ही नीड्स समवन टू टीच हाउ टू स्विम सो दैट वो पार कर जाए, राइट. इस तरीके से देयर आर इनॉर्मस एग्जांपल. इन पाकिस्तान की इकोनॉमी में एसएमई एक फंडामेंटल रोल है, where you, FP&A, has two responsibilities: set the foundation, go and kind of get the pace right. And this is where professional services firm can kind of tap into, and you can get your businesses as well, because these are the firms which kind of need these sort of talent and this sort of tools. And with the emergence of artificial intelligence, ladies and gentlemen, these tools are at your disposal, right? And you can kind of come up, pitch in, and tap the opportunity and make money out of that as well. And at the end of the day, contribute to the economy, right? So why FP&A exists, we have discussed that this is potentially the role of FP&A. Now the question is why FP&A matters. And this is what, in Pakistani context, few of the owners also need to understand, and you being the FP&A professionals need to understand, because this is where your demand curve is emerging. This is something which makes you worthy, right? This is something which makes you a people, or I would say ये न्यूक्लियस है, ये वो न्यूक्लियस है जिसकी वजह से तुम बहुत सारे डिपार्टमेंट से कोऑर्डिनेट करते हो, and you are the intersection between the data and direction. Mark my words, intersection between the data and direction, right? So volatility, that's permanent, right? Ye rahegi. Post-COVID, things have changed dramatically. This volatility, you take any economy, right? This volatility is there, and you need to respond, right? The data is everywhere, the knowledge is everywhere, and with the emergence of technology, knowledge has become so scarce, or sorry, knowledge has become so readily available that every individual has that knowledge, right? So the value of the knowledge is becoming less. Now the point is that you need to be able to execute that knowledge. So you need to have data, but data is everywhere. The problem is garbage in, garbage out, right? If you don't have the right set of data, you need to go a step back, get the data sets readily available, and then using ERP, Power BI's, Copilot, Claude, or you call it anything, right? You can bring things into action. CEOs demand speed. मैं अपने केस में बोलूं, मेरा नहीं ख्याल है 72 hours. It's not more than 24-40 hours where we need to respond, right? For example, एक मार्केट है, वहां पे मैं देख रहा हूँ कि ट्रेड डिफरेंटली रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहा है, राइट. 3 घंटे अगर मैं डिले से ऑपरेट करता हूँ, इसका मतलब ये है कि मैंने तकरीबन 600, 700, 800 मिलियन की ऐसी सेल्स है जहां पे आई एम नॉट बीन एबल टू रिएक्ट, राइट, वेयर माय कंपटीशन इज डूइंग समथिंग डिफरेंट, राइट. सो speed is something, it matters or it varies industry to industry, but speed is something where you want to make sure that you don't compromise. And CFO role is expanding. हम एक दूसरी डिबेट में चले जाएंगे, but giving you just a food for thought. There's a discussion going on कि why not merge CFO and COO, Chief Financial Officer और Chief Operating Officer के रोल को merge करें और उसको CEO को pathway दें, because CFO is again sitting at the area जहाँ पे सारी strategy discuss होती है, and he bring some clarity into those strategy. So why not, right? So modern CFOs are expected to do, they are expected to co-pilot with the CEO, right? CEO should have the confidence to take CFO or FP&A teams into the loop while making the decision. So FP&A is the nerve cell, is the engine behind the CFO जो enable करता है CFO को to perform or to represent his version or the company's financial version in the board or in the corporate leadership meetings. So that's why FP&A matters, right? What I've tried to do in this slide is to make sure that you guys know your worth. आप हैं कौन and how worthy you are, right? Moving on, how bad FP&A looks like, right? You go into the organization Monday morning, you're fixing broken nexus, you're fixing links, right? You are fixing master data, you are collaborating with the people, just trying to understand the nuances in the data. and you are in the weekends, right? That's not your role, ladies and gentlemen, right? एक report के 6 version बनाना is not your role. If you're doing this, if you're stuck in this vicious cycle, you probably need to rethink your organization structure. आपके बॉस को, आपके ओनर को अपने ऑर्गेनाइजेशन स्ट्रक्चर को सोचने की जरूरत है कि what tweaks are required to make sure that you can deliver value. Or probably you need to invest in ERPs so as to make sure that okay, you have the right set of ERPs, you have the right set of master data, you have right set of tools, or I call it arms and ammunition, to kind of go and fire and bring that spark out of the organization, right? Or maybe third pillar, which is the most important, the organization might not have the right talent or right capability to bring up the desired ROI of FP&A function. So if you're an FP&A trap, and I'm pretty sure out of the 30 individuals sitting on the call, there must be some individuals who can resonate to it. So you need to come out of this FP&A trap, right? Um, there are several failure modes. There are 4 failure modes, which you can see on the right side of the screen. Um, one thing which I would like to call upon, and शायद आप relate कर लें, आपकी organization में शायद ऐसा होता होगा, the decisions are taken and then you are told. If you are an FP&A and you're facing this dilemma, this is a dichotomy, and you're not doing your role right, right? So in case decisions are being taken without you being taken on board, or without your 2 cents into that decision, or you are just there to analyze variances, performance analytics, probably you have not won your seat, or your business or your board doesn't understand what FP&A is all about. So while you set strategic FP&A function, make sure it's not only restricted to variance analysis. Yes, variance analysis is a part of it, but it's something which is very, very insignificant, right? What is FP&A trap? Dosto, FP&A trap is 80% of your time is now there in doing number crunching, in setting the sheets, in setting the spreadsheets, in making the PowerPoint deck, and 20% of your time is in doing the analysis. Now, FP&A is something which is very opposite to it. 20% of your time should be there in fixing the things, or doing the beautification of things, or making the story out of things, and 80% of the time should be there doing analysis, sitting close to the market and understanding what and how of the business, right? Moving on, and I won't go into it, just will be there 20 seconds. You can just skim this slide. The message is, if any of the 3 out of these 8 apply to your FP&A, probably you're not fit for the strategic purpose, and you need to now think how you can fix this, right? 2 बातें करूंगा, something out of my heart, very close to heart. अगर आज के दौर में with the technology you have, if your monthly closing is taking more than 3 days, I think you need to fix something. Monthly closing should not take more than 3 days, howsoever complex your business is. Number 1. Number 2, budget is not a sacred book. We understand. मैं खुद अभी कल budget के board है. And I know, I mean, the teams have gone through extensive deliberation with commercial, with marketing, with supply chain. I mean, the teams have been working for the last 2 months on this budget. But believe me, इस budget की shelf life 3 महीने से ज़्यादा नहीं है. After 3 months, the macroeconomic indicators, or the competitive analysis, or the market performance, or exogenous or endogenous factors will change the reality of this budget. अगर तुम अपने बिजनेस में बजट को पूरे साल चला रहे हो और उसी को ट्रैक कर रहे हो, दैट्स प्रॉब्ली समथिंग जहां पे यू नीड टू स्टेप अप. व्हाट्स पोटेंशियल स्टेप अप अप्रोच कुड बी कि तुम्हारा बजट एक बनता है, फिर in manufacturing and concerns like NFL या SNOP होती, you can call it anything, right? Where we kind of have the forecast, okay, how is the sale looking like, हम कितना बेचेंगे, कितना नहीं बेचेंगे, something on that sort. So your budget should have 12 versions, which is being refreshed on every monthly basis. You can call it forecasting, you can call it anything, you can call it plan, budget, rolling forecast, anything. And that's something which be in tandem with the budget, and this will help you drive the performance of the business. Or I can say it simply, you should have capability to translate risk and ops into budget, and you name it whatever. Until and unless you just talk about risk and ops and you do not have capability of translating into the financial numbers, you won't be able to get the confidence of the leadership. So this is something which I want you to understand and take out of this meeting, that budget is not a sacred book. The shelf life of budget these days 3 महीने से ज्यादा नहीं है. You can track budget for corporate KPIs. You can say अच्छा bonus उस वक्त मिलेगा जब budget meet हो जाएगा. You can say, for example, to track the performance of the division, but supporting division, doing partnership with the division, budget only is not sufficient, right? Moving on, bad FPA की अपनी अपनी cost है. At times cost is visible, at times cost is not visible. Um, so there are three types of cost. Financial cost, you know better than me. I won't touch more. Strategic cost is something जहाँ पे and you kind of miss out the boat. You kind of miss out the opportunity. Why? Because you are still doing the number crunching. You are setting the deck. You are setting your Excels. But that's something which you want to come out of that. And organizational cost, very close to my heart, right? If you have a bad FP&A, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you won't have the strategic mandate. ये वो mandate है जो बहुत जरूरी है for you to feel accomplished, right? You want to take a seat at the board, right? I'm pretty sure if you are the leaders in your organization, or if you are someone who are into the mid-tier leadership role, if you want to give pathway to your organization or to your finance folks, अगर आप उनका career बनाना चाहते हैं, you need to make sure that you do not have a bad FP&A. Right? Why? Because if you have a bad FP&A, you're not able to gain trust and credibility into the board or into the leadership. And at the end of the day, no one waits for no one, right? You have one missed decision, your CEO would understand, okay, this is not something who can run up with the pace. Your CEO probably will take the decision itself or will kick you out of the room, right? So make sure that you have a good FP&A, not a bad FP&A, right? Skipping this slide in the paucity of time. Okay. So this is more close to FMCG context, where there are certain drivers, I can say. But one thing which I want you to take out message out of this slide is that running P&L is half of the story, right? The better or the most important equipment or the tool is to go and sit very close to the business, right? My FP&A chap every month has a mandate to go into the market. वो जाएगा, फॉर एग्जाम्पल वो केपीके में जाके देखेगा कि क्या हो रहा है, वो एक महीने जाके कोयटा में देखेगा क्या हो रहा है, एक महीने जाके फॉर एग्जाम्पल वो लाहौर में देखेगा क्या हो रहा है, and then he or she will bring the insights of the market, and then we will be discussing something with the boss. एक situation है, your CFO, if your CFO is getting the insights from the sales team and the operations team, and your FP&A team is not being able to give the insight, go back to the drawing room and fix your FP&A team, because it's really embarrassing for the CFO to have the business insights not coming from FP&A, but coming from other players. This again makes him weak. Now, if you're not close to the market, if you're not close to the business, if you're not close to the selling points, probably you will not be able to sketch the whole story. So make sure that you have right level of resources, enough resources that you, at the end of the day, can work in tandem with the business. And yes, another perspective is that you need to be able to see 360-degree of every decision. See, no financial decision is in isolation. Every financial decision will impact probably people, operations, sales, marketing, supply chain, right? So your capability to assess their decisions in complete, with all the complete aspects to it, is something which makes you a credible FP&A folks. And in case you don't have that, you need to build that so as to make sure that you have the strategic FP&A. Now the question is where FP&A should sit in the organization, right? आपका chief executive officer है, CFO उसको report करता है. Now, in your organizations, you might have different org structures, but what I feel like there are two important pillars: financial controller and head of FP&A, or you may add treasury there as well. Very important and Pakistani challenge is that financial controller is at times doing the role of FP&A, and FP&A is doing the role of financial controller. This is a recipe of disaster, right? Financial controller has different role, right? And his role my role is to be, financial controller cannot do a creative accounting. My role is to be creative, to make sure that I enable business to drive the right profitability or right sales number, right? So when I talk about the financial controller, your tax teams, your receivables, your commercial controlling teams, your reporting teams, is something which sits here. When I talk about FP&A, your supply chain partners, your revenue partners, your commercial partners, your treasury can sit here, right? I can also park treasury in financial controller, that's not an issue. But these two roles or these two designations should be distinct. Unfortunately, due to the lack of understanding, due to the lack of visible value creation, many times what our organization does is they kind of mix these roles. That is something which shouldn't be the case, right? Another important perspective is where FP&A should be sitting. You might have seen बहुत सी organizations में ऐसे होता है कि FP&A or business partners have a dotted reporting line to CFO and a direct line to, say, business head, business unit head, chief head. That's one of the model, right? One of the model is vice versa, where it reports directly to CFO, but a dotted line to those COO or business head, right? Whatever suits you. My personal understanding, मेरा इतने साल का तजर्बा ये कहता है कि he should have a direct line to CFO and he should have a dotted line to supposedly operations or supposedly sales or whatsoever, right? Because that's where he can have his independence there. He can have his understanding of the business there and he can collaborate and co-partner. But having the right organization structure is something which will help you position yourself well within the organization. And until unless you don't position yourself, you won't be able to add value to the business, right? Just in the interest of time, I'll skip this. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Governance, how to govern things, and this until unless this architecture is sorted, having a strategic FP&A, migrating from scorekeeper to strategic FP&A is something which will be difficult, right? आपको अपनी टीम्स को राइट फोरम्स देने हैं बात करने के लिए. I mean, it's my responsibility that I should have a right forum. हमारे यहाँ FBR होता है, Finance Business Review Forums होते हैं, for example. Working capital cadence के forums होते हैं, जहाँ chief operating officer, deputy CEO is there, where we kind of interact and where we, being an FP&A, has an opportunity to go and tell him, sir, this needs to be fixed, this is the risk, this is the opportunity, right? Until unless I'm just doing things in the paper, exchanging emails, and don't have the right forums, things won't work, right? Flash sales, I'll spend 2 more minutes on this slide, right? Daily, weekly, what we need to do. Flash sales tracker, I think this is something which you can outsource to agentic AI. आपको करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Systems should be there, giving a flash of sales, giving a flash of how my sales are versus my SNOP, versus my budget, versus my plan, and system is doing this. Cash position review, system is doing this, system is giving you alerts, system is giving you red flags, and system is doing risk exception flags. That's where you need to come in and you need to make sure that, okay, if there is anything going off, you are there to help the business. Monthly, जैसे मैंने कहा, day 3 is something where you need to close, you need to flash P&L, right? Rolling forecast update, we talked about that. Rolling forecast is something which you need to build your capability. If you don't have technology, don't wait for the technology. You can start with Excel, right? Excel can give you the capability. हमारे यहाँ 800 SKUs हैं, right? And we try to do rolling forecast update on monthly basis, right? We work on S4 HANA, but many of you must have heard about SAC, SAP Analytical Cloud. That's where you have the efficiency or you have the capability of do rolling forecast on a monthly basis. And there's also other tool called IBP, Integrated Business Framework, where you kind of do that. But until unless you don't have or your management, अगर आपका 10 अरब रुपए का business है, तो naturally आपके पास इतनी capacity नहीं होगी in systems में invest करने के लिए. Don't wait for that. Go with the Excel versions and you will have that confidence which you can seek within the organization, right? You should know what your long range and short range plan is. अगले 3 साल में किधर पहुंचाना है, अगले 1 साल में किधर पहुंचाना है, right? बोर्ड पैक है समथिंग जो आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. कैपिटल एलोकेशन डिसीजन आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. एक इंटरेस्टिंग कहानी सुनाता हूँ. 2021 में वी प्लान कि अब हमें फुल थ्रॉटल में फैसलाबाद में इन्वेस्टमेंट करनी है, एक नया प्लांट लगाना है. हमने अपने 2 प्लांट बंद करने, एक साइड का प्लांट है, एक गुजरावाला का प्लांट है. हमने जब बोर्ड को प्रेजेंट किया, उस वक्त रफली इंटरेस्ट रेट 9% पे था, 10% की आवाजें थी. एंड जब हमने फैसलाबाद प्लांट को फुल एक्शन में लेके गए, आपको मुझसे बेहतर पता होगा, 22% तक इंटरेस्ट रेट चले गया, राइट? 22% तक इंटरेस्ट रेट चले जाने का मतलब भी ये था कि एक अनप्रेसिडेंटेड सी इन्फ्लेशन थी। अनप्रेसिडेंटेड इन्फ्लेशन का मतलब ये था कि जो मैंने कॉस्ट एस्टिमेट्स लगाए थे मेरे प्लांट प्रोक्योरमेंट में, प्लांट को लगाने में, वो कॉस्ट एस्टिमेट्स बहुत ऑफ हो गए। नाउ दिस इज वेयर FP&A came into play, and we kind of gained confidence to the board. We were very proactive, and we went to banks. We said, okay, we'll be probably revisiting our lines. We'll be probably having more loans. We gave the confidence to the board. Okay, this is something which is temporary. This shall pass too, and you need to be cautious. We tell the board, okay, our IRR and NPV estimates might be different because now the WACC is completely different. Cost of debt has gone too high, but we said, okay, no worries. We probably will break the project into दो phases, एक phase 1 करेंगे, एक phase 2 करेंगे। और आज हम बोर्ड को ये बता रहे हैं कि ये एक सक्सेस स्टोरी है नेशनल फूड की, कि हमने 7 अरब के प्रोजेक्ट का इतने कम टाइम में पे बैक लेके आ गए, राइट। सो ये पे बैक ऐसे नहीं आया, ये पे बैक ऐसे आया कि हमने डे 1 से ऑपरेशंस को बताया, अच्छा ये प्रोडक्टिविटी मेजर्स हम ले सकते हैं। हमने डे 1 से ऑपरेशंस को बताया कि दिस इज समथिंग जहां पे हम अपनी फ्रेट कॉस्ट और अवॉइड कर सकते हैं, एंड इट वाज अ कलेक्टिव thing, right? So culture is also really very important, and I think until unless you don't have a cohesive environment, you don't have a culture of working together, shared purposes, FP&A teams also kind of struggle. But once you have the right culture, things are there where you can strive and you can do fundamentally exceptional, right? Now moving on, आर्म्स एलिमिनेशन, राइट। आई थिंक ये 4 आर्म्स एलिमिनेशन आपके पास जरूर होने चाहिए, जस्ट टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर देयर ऑन द गेम। डेटा एक्सेस, सिंगल सोर्स ऑफ ट्रूथ ERP होना चाहिए। आई विल रीइटरेट लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, मास्टर डेटा आपका अच्छा होना चाहिए, राइट। जैसे जैसे आपका बिजनेस ग्रो होता रहेगा, कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज इन द मास्टर डेटा विल कंटिन्यू, राइट। You should have a very simplified version of master data so that anybody coming into the business can understand and can go plug and play. Once you start complicating your master data, and it does get complicated with the complications and intricacies of the business, but make sure that you are giving a full try to make it very simple, right? uh, Again, don't be stuck at the reporting level. You should have, for मैं अपने केस में बताऊं, चैनल वाइज प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी, मॉडर्न ट्रेड कितना कमा रहा है, जनरल ट्रेड कितना कमा रहा है, कौन सा शेयर कितना कमा के दे रहा है, कौन सा SKU कितना कमा के दे रहा है, किस SKU में क्या इंटरवेंशन की जरूरत है, कौन सा डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर का कितना ROI है। दैट्स समथिंग व्हिच शुड बी देयर ऑन द क्लिक ऑफ द बटन, राइट। RPA, robotic process automations, can help you do real-time BA connectivities as well. And there are also tools which are, you call integrators, APIs, which you can deploy to your Oracle or to SAP, which can help you give real-time business intelligence connectivity, right? And the last part is something which is the advanced part. It's integrated demand supply financial data. And if that's there, so I mean, you need nothing, right? So integrated demand supply means every fluctuation in the demand and supply will be captured into your financial model, and you will be able to tell the management, okay, this is the impact, this is not the impact. And I said you will be able to tell the management with the precision and with the confidence, right? Because that's confidence is something which you need to make sure that is there to have the right set of partnering. So data access, एक चीज बस याद रखो, single source of truth होना बहुत जरूरी है, right? People and skills में बात करूं, I think 2 important things. One is the capability to zoom in and zoom out. And even many CFOs also struggle into this capability. You need to have an understanding, okay, this is the, देखो हर जंग जीतने की नहीं होती, every battle is not supposed to be win, right? You need to understand, okay, this is something where you can let go, and this is something where you kind of have to zoom in. This is something where you want to invest time on, and this is something which will get the right ROI, right FIDA, right value addition, and this is something which will probably be the priority number 2, priority number 3. So this is a very important leadership ability to zoom in, ability to zoom out. दूसरी FP&A के लिए सबसे important capability is the sniffing capability. You should be able to understand while talking to the supply chain folks, okay, potentially these are the issues coming up, and then you should be able to model yourselves or model financially to give the confidence or to give the analysis or to give the solution. Again, being solution oriented is always something which is loved by organization, which people like me would have love to have people on board. मैं अपनी टीम में ऐसे बंदे रखना चाहूंगा which are solution oriented and which are well versed with these two capability. One is sniffing capability. You should understand, okay, what's going wrong, what's going to explode, what is something which is in the pocket, right? And number two is ability to zoom in and zoom out. While I talk about tools and technology, I think you are more well versed than me. What I can tell you, I think I myself use Claude, it's fantastic, right? I have been able to curate some models into the Claude which can give me direct assessment on some of the KPIs. अगर मैं ये करूँ तो क्या होगा, right? And वो management जो पहले स्टैटिक मॉडल देखती थी अब वो डायनामिक मॉडल देखती है एंड उस मीटिंग में ही डिसीजन हो जाता है ओके दिस probably needs to be done and this is the right or optimum level of fix which we need to do. So if you're not using Claude yet, my personal recommendation, start using it. There are other tools and technologies like Copilot, which is also very helpful. I'm pretty sure you are using ChatGPT, but if you're still using free versions of Claude and ChatGPT, my personal recommendation, go for the paid version because that's where you will find more value being unlocked. I'm absolutely sure, but for the sake of the forum, you're not using these tools merely for researching and you're not using these as a Google, but you are creating artifacts out of this tool. Artifact search karna hai. Artifact is something which is you built on the cloud and it comes out as an HTML file and it gives you ability to analyze dynamically things. So these are the tools and technologies which are available. Last but not the least, very important, positioning, right? You should have access. आपकी position rubber stamp की position नहीं होनी चाहिए, right? When I talk about people or when people seek advice, क्या मैं यहाँ नौकरी करूँ या मैं should I subscribe to this role? The one thing which I say, पैसा is secondary, everything is secondary. Your position shouldn't be rubber stamp position where you're just there to fill the seat. And this is also very relevant while we talk about the internal audit and functions like that. So your position should have direct mandate, direct access, and you should have the rights, arms, and ammunition to go and fire, right? Many a times I've seen FP&A compromised because the CFO doesn't have the credibility, because you do not have the right seat, you don't have the access to confidential data, people don't trust you, and people don't have confidence on your ability to forecast. So make sure if you are the leaders within the organization, you have won the mandate, you have won the access, because this will help you perform well, right? I think I'll speak 5 minutes more and then I'll hand over you guys for any questions, right? Strategic models, there are many models, right? But this is what I captured. Driver-based P&L model is something where you say, एक तो नॉस्टैल्जिक इन्फ्लेशन लगा के फोरकास्टिंग का तरीका होता है, एंड आई थिंक दैट्स नॉट अ वेरी गुड तरीके का, where you say अच्छा 10% growth. But I think more important तरीका is कि you say, okay, this is the yield, this is volume, this is price, this is mix, these are the drivers, and this will help, pardon me, and this will help us go there. So that's driver-based P&L model, right? Having the 360-degree view we have discussed is something very pertinent because at the end of the day, integrating demand, supply, technology, processes, platform, cash flow, people is something which is your role. I mean, you are being your DNA should be like that you should be able to integrate and make the story 360, right? Scenario sensitivity model is usually when when you have macroeconomic indicators moving on. Capital allocation and ROI model is something which you do while you're doing investment appraisals and all sort of that. And LRP model is something which we focus on 3 to 5 year long range planning, right? We usually dwell into these models when we go into the one full day training when we discuss this model into very detail, but for now I'll just keep it for your eyeballing, and if you are interested into these models we can discuss further, but in the interest of time I'll rather move forward. One thing we have talked much about this, I think one thing which is pertinent on technical skills is statistical modeling. Many times I've seen that this remains in the academics. ये सिर्फ किताबों में रह जाता है, regression analysis, right? Covariances, variances, and people are not very comfortable while discussing on these terminologies. But believe me, ladies and gentlemen, this has the magic to unlock. ये जब तुम कर लोगे तुम्हें पता चल जाएगा, जब तुम अपने बोर्ड में जाके बोलोगे कि okay, this is with the confidence interval of 95%. board will be giving you more weight on that. So please don't forget in all the hustles and bustles of business, don't forget the statistical measures, because that's something which is also pertinent while being into the analytical role of the organization, right? लीडरशिप स्किल्स में एक और बात करना चाहता हूँ is intellectual courage. ठीक है. At times you need to be the bad boy in the room. At times you are there to challenge the assumption, and it's not an easy thing to do, right? And as you step up the ladder, you will realize the heat while you are challenging assumptions, where you're challenging people, or while you're challenging strategy. But that's your role. So make sure that you are not compromised, right? And you have one versions of yours. I've seen, and that's my personal understanding, के compromise उस वक्त होता है when you give different versions to different stakeholders, right? I mean, if you speak too many lie in a day, you won't be able to recall what exactly was the version one, version two, right? So make things very simple. Have one stance. Either get yourself corrected or either get others convinced, but have one stance while you are making discussions on strategy and FP&A. That's really, really very important, right? FP&A mindset, I've talked about that. I can, Shakur can share this. I don't think we need to go on. This is something very, very interesting, and I'll take 2 minutes on this, right? When I first introduced these KPIs into my function, the very feeling was that we are the ones who kind of measure the performance of others. Now, our performance will also be measured. That's something which is a different mindset, and that's the change in the approach, right? Um, this you can tweak these KPIs whatever you want, but I think for me, one of the important KPI is the influence, right? It's something which is I'm not sure why these green lines are there, but it's on the influence, because influence, until unless you don't have the decision influence, what are you doing there? Why are you there, by the way, if you are not influencing the decision, right? Are you there merely being the bookkeeper? If that's the case, financial controller can do it well, right? Um, Also, a bit controversial, but I want to touch upon that. Well, you need to have, when we talk about the skills of an individual, make sure you probably are having those individuals who can speak, who can talk, who can think, right? Who has the ability to critically think. Unfortunately, well, I interact with the students of the professional qualifications, I find it lacking. When I interact with the students of likes of foreign graduates or the universities, local top tier universities, I find it's there, right? So make sure that you have the ability to influence and you have the right talent on board, right? Forecast accuracy. Having the wrong forecast accuracy is not a problem, ladies and gentlemen. But if your CFO is not asking why for the last 6 months your forecast accuracy is less than 90%, that's the problem, right? Having the flash report cycle missed by one day in last 12 months, not a problem. Consistently missing the reporting cycle is the problem. You are taking 5 days, that is a week, in refreshing the forecast post SNOP, the red flag, right? As we mentioned, data preparation time should not be more than 20%. Make sure, right? Your perception should be much better, right? Because this is the game of the perception. Believe me, you say it wrong, you have a good perception, one or two times, no one will notice. Yeah, you are consistently sitting in the wrong seat of the car, then naturally people will focus or will point it out. But if you have a good perception, you're missing something one or two times, that will pass through. Make sure having the right perception is key to step up into the FP&A domain, right? I'm not sure. Screen legible, right? Um, okay, this is just a recipe 90-day roadmap. If you feel like that, you probably need to relook into your FP&A domains and FP&A functions, and you need to do something out of it. So this is a roadmap, right? Number one is have the data flows aligned. Number three is have the workflows reviewed. ये देख लो कि तुम्हारा बहुत ज्यादा मेकर चेकर पे फोकस तो नहीं है. I'm not saying compromise the control. I'm saying have the workflows reviews, right? You need to audit your current FP&A processes and the quality of the output and see if any decisions are being driven by the output which you are giving. If not, you need to work on. Phase two could be building and repositioning yourself, right? And phase three is something where you kind of elevate, you step up, you embed, you have live dashboards, you give confidence, you are there in the business reviews, you are clearly striking the right chord, and that's where you can bring value into the overall challenge, right? Just this is the last slide, I believe. Again, same messaging. You need to make sure you're developing the right talent because this FP&A will ultimately or can ultimately be the CFO. And now, if you ask me, is financial controller is financial controller more probable to take the CFO role or FP&A? Undoubtedly, I'll say FP&A. Why? Because you are sitting in the helm of the business affair. I can do my financial controlling with technology. I can pay a smart chartered accountant more money, but I need some thinker to help navigate the business and who also knows the language of the finance, and you are the one who knows it, right? Um, so have the right finance talent. You need to make sure you're embracing automation, right? People should trust you. You should be a nerve cell of the organization and able to connect all the people, right? um, easy language you need to be someone who has the capacity to attract people and who can take people all along, right? um, Cash is the king. We might talk about while we're discussing working capital, but not now. But cash is the king. I'm making 100 million rupees without cash translation. That's not a good model. So you are pretty technically solid guys. You know how to make sure that you link profit to cash. That's all, ladies and gentlemen, from my side. I would love to take questions. I think we have 12, 8, 9 minutes. So over to you guys for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ali Sab. So you can write your question in the chat window, or even you can open your mic to ask the questions. So I have reviewed the slides and I've listened to Ali Sab as well. So it was thought-provoking. Thank you, Ali Sab.
Pleasure.
All right. So can you please write your question in the chat window if you have any, or you can even open your mic as well if you want to ask the questions, please. All right. चैट विंडो इज खामोश और ऑडियंस भी खामोश है, सो इसके दो मतलब हैं। एक तो ये कि सब अच्छा है, सब समझ आ गया, तो मेरा ख्याल है यही है। सब एक क्वेश्चन आया है, इफ एआई कुड इंस्टेंटली ऑटोमेट ऑल रिपोर्टिंग, बजटिंग एंड फोरकास्टिंग टुमारो, that would still make an FP&A professional valuable?
Thank you, Nimra, for this thought-provoking question. I think it's something which I can talk about for the next 30 minutes, I think. But see, automation is there, but automation will delayer many other roles, likes of transactional roles, likes of payable, likes of commercial. But FP&A is there to stay because, I mean, you at the end of the day needs an individual who know how to navigate the ship and get you to the North Star, right? The value of the FP&A professional would increase, would not decrease. Why? Because now you have all the data, right? Now the only thing you need to do is analytical. You need to demonstrate leadership. You need to make sure that you are telling business right things to drive right investments, and you're helping business to grow positively. And that's what Pakistani market needs, right? Pakistani state was Mehman state को तो वही बंदा चाहिए जो उसको पैसे बना के दे रहा हो, right? And उसके जो operational nuances थे वो AI ने solve कर दिए, right? रिपोर्टिंग सॉल्व कर दी है, बजटिंग को एक सिस्टम में लेके आ गया है, वर्कफ्लोज को ऑटोमेट कर दिए हैं, एजेंट एक एआई बैठा हुआ है जो आपके वर्कफ्लोज को खुद ही एनालाइज कर रहा है एंड अप्रूव कर रहा है, डिसअप्रूव कर रहा है बेस्ड ऑन योर स्टेटेड पॉलिसीज और बेस्ड ऑन द मशीन लर्निंग व्हिच यू हैव एम्बेडेड onto that AI. So I personally feel it will become more valuable. Certain roles, likes of transactional role, will lose its value. Entry level role will probably be somewhere compromised while we have the full AI adoption on scale. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it's a matter of 2 to 3 years. what I'm seeing sitting into the other side of the table, it's a matter of 2 to 3 years. At the end of the day, it depends on how your owner, your board, your company embraces artificial intelligence or accepts the reality. But what I am seeing in terms of the tools, in terms of the global surveys, in terms of how companies are adopting to it, and why not should adopt, because every new thing which is good for the company should adopt. It's a matter of 2 to 3 years, and we all and you all need to gear up to fix that. Question Abdul Wase, can we use ChatGPT, Cloud Copilot, other AI tools without subscription for FP&A? Absolutely yes. I would. The only recommendation from my side would be that don't use free tools, specifically for ChatGPT and Cloud. Use paid tools, because these paid tools gives you more leverage to kind of play more, to kind of innovate more, to kind of make more artifacts. For example, in case of Claude, आप जब लिमिटेड फ्री वर्जन में होता है, आपका स्कोप भी लिमिटेड हो जाता है, उसका रिस्पॉन्स की क्वालिटी भी कम हो जाती है, एंड फिर आप वो वैल्यू ऐड नहीं कर सकते जो आपको करनी चाहिए. एंड I mean, and the subscription is also not very expensive. So go for the paid one. Which one will be the best? Sir, it all depends on the work which you want to do. If you want to make financial models and if you want to make scenario models, I would go for Claude. For creative thinking, rather, I would go for ChatGPT. Claude, maybe you will see आपके पास एक Sonnet आता है, एक Opus आता है. So every LLM has different models for each task. So you need to do your own research for that. Okay, there's one question. शकुल भाई, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
जी आप अपनी स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ऑफ करते हैं प्लीज, ताकि हम कुछ पार्टिसिपेंट्स को भी देख सकें. Okay, let me share from my side, and what I will do is I will okay, I think अभी आपकी चले. Okay, that is fine. All right, so we can take rest of the questions as well, and I would like to request, if possible, you can open your cameras as well, please.
Okay. Jamil, right? When organizations face uncertain market conditions, forecasting assumptions frequently change. What framework does FP&A use to ensure management can still make timely strategic decisions, right? I think scenario-based modeling is something which you can do. And now with the beauty of technology, पहले क्या होता था, आपका फॉर एग्जांपल एक सिनेरियो चेंज होता था, यू कैन मेक 2-3 मॉडल्स, आप उसको एक स्लाइड पे लेके जाते थे अपने बोर्ड के पास, अपने सीएफओ के पास, अपने सीईओ के पास, राइट? अब विद टेक्नोलॉजी आप बहुत सारे सिनेरियोज एक ही मीटिंग में डिस्कस कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज इट्स जस्ट एट द क्लिक ऑफ द बटन. आपने क्लिक किया, आपने वो लीवर मूव किया. फॉर एग्जांपल इन्फ्लेशन की एग्जांपल लेते हैं. सपोजिटली हम कहते हैं अच्छा इन्फ्लेशन का ये सिनेरियो होगा, तो मेरा पीपल कॉस्ट कैसे मूव कर रहा होगा. सो यू जस्ट नीड टू मूव द लीवर एंड यू नीड टू सी ओके, दिस इज द पीपल कॉस्ट, दिस इज द परसेंटेज ऑफ एनएसपी और परसेंटेज ऑफ सेल्स, दिस इज द पीपल कॉस्ट पर हेड काउंट, this is how the mix is moving, right? So everything is very dynamic, and this is something which technology is helping you. So I think to answer precisely, Talha, scenario-based modeling is something which you can opt for. Then there's a question. Thanks, Muhammad Bhai. Thank you, Zan. My background is mainly in financial controlling, financial management, leading finance operations. I'm interested in transitioning into FP&A and would like to understand the best approach for making this move. How can your course help someone with my experience successful transition to FP&A role? Okay, so in National Food, I started off with the similar role as in I was the head of financial controller, right? And then I also was involved in certain cross-departmental projects where I tried to create metal, improve my ability, and help organizations convinced, okay, I could be one of the right fit for the FP&A level roles. And then after that, I was given the role of the head of integrated supply chain, where I was working very closely with the manufacturing and supply chain operations. And now I'm working as head of FP&A and treasury. So I think this is a journey. Sniff or try to get the cross-departmental projects, prove your metal, and even in the financial controlling discussion, make sure while you're presenting your data, your reports, your cases, let audience know you know the business as well, right? And this you can do by making friends, going into the different floors of the organization, meeting with different facets of the people, and understanding what potentially are the risks and opportunities around business. Uh, what will be the role of Power BI when these AI tools are available? Uh, I think Power BI role is more on the data visualization. One of the Power BI expert, Nimra, is sitting with us. She can also add value, but I understand the role will be there, but the role is limited to data visualization, right? Data intelligence is also there, but other tools offer more, I can say, easy, flexible approach to analyze data intelligently and to add value. So I would rate other tools better. But as far as visualization is concerned, as far as integrating data with your ERP is concerned, Power BI is there, right? Khalilur Rahman, models such as Sonnet or Hypercloud GPT models such as 4 or 4.5, going on and need different LLM capability, but do we need to develop a specific agent for this purpose and train accordingly? Khalil sir, if your function is so advanced that you're working for agentic AI, you can now then make a specific agent. But if you're working on generative AI and if you're just playing with LLMs and doing analysis, I don't think you need to go that detailed building onto the FP&A agents specifically. बट अगर आप पूरे का पूरा इंसान का काम एफपीएन एजेंट का आउटसोर्स कर रहे हैं तो फिर आपको एक एजेंट बनाना पड़ेगा जिसको आपको अपने डेटा पे लर्न कराना पड़ेगा और उससे उसको आपको इतना कॉन्फिडेंस चाहिए कि आप उसको डिप्लॉय करके एक ह्यूमन एंगल को रिप्लेस कर सकें एक आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के एंगल से। अच्छा सर, व्हाट इज नेक्स्ट? पूर्व इसके बाद there's one more question. Can you read it out for me? I cannot see. You're on mute probably.
Okay, so I'm taking question from Talha Jamil. So just allow me a second. Okay, so he's saying that uh, in organization where growth and profitability objectives often conflict, how does FP&A help strike the right balance between the aggressive expansion and the maintaining financial discipline?
Well, growth and profitability objectives often conflict, so that's the discipline which your CFO needs to make sure that um, I'll link it to one academic concept: sustainable growth rate. That's the mantra, right? If you are operating in a sustainable growth rate, you will not fall out, and that's what you need to tell your management as well, right? आप सब मुझसे ज़्यादा पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, आपको पता है SDR का concept क्या होता है. If you're over trading, you will collapse. If you're not following a policy of sustainable growth rate, probably you will collapse. So make sure that you can articulate within the management, कि sir, this probably will be the result. We probably go into the gearing which is beyond our control. Let's say we go into the gearing which is 75%. Our bank covenant says कि हमें 70% gearing को operate करना है. So these are kind of the discipline, both from the external covenants and from the internal mandates within the organization, which you can do. I can just tell you one thing in 1 minute. इस साल के शुरू में what we did, we established a capital allocation policy and we got it approved from the board, where we know, okay, this is the broader framework for the capital allocation. इतना हमें dividend देना है, अगर हम ये करते हैं, इतना हमें ROI पे invest करना है, return जनरेटिंग एसेट पे इन्वेस्ट करना है, इतना हमें नॉन रिटर्न जनरेटिंग एसेट पे इन्वेस्ट करना है, इतना नेट डेट टू एबिटा का रेशो रखना है, so that there is a discipline, there is a framework, and you also need to probably follow such framework.
So if there is any other question from the participant, you can simply write in the chat window. So we'll be taking one last question only. So if there is any, you can open your mic or you can write in the chat window. Good prompts to A versus data in Excel. So the question is good prompts to AI versus data in Excel.
Good prompts to AI versus
डेटा एंड एक्सेल आई थिंक हम जो एक्सेल को भी खास आई एम नॉट श्योर इस बात से क्या कह रहे हैं, लेकिन ये है कि हम एक्सेल को जो भी समझ रहे हैं वो एक नंबर क्रंचर समझ रहे हैं, लेकिन जैसे अली साहब ने जो है वो कोपायलट की बात की है, सो एक्सेल इज नाउ मोर देन द नंबर क्रंचिंग सॉफ्टवेयर. सो आप एक्सेल में भी इवन प्रॉम्प्ट्स दे सकते हैं. सो अब व्हाट वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड इज दैट गुड प्रॉम्प्ट्स टू एआई वर्सेस डेटा इन एक्सेल. तो आप ये कह रहे हैं शायद कि हम प्रॉम्प्ट्स दे दें किसी एआई टूल को, या हम जो है वो डेटा एक्सेल में करें. आई मीन द नीड द एक्सेल टू द एक्सटेंट. आई मीन द नीड द एक्सेल टू द एक्सटेंट. वासे साहब, आप एफपीएनडे के लिए बात कर रहे हैं एक्सेल की नीड? Okay, so question Talha sab se again है need of Excel in FP&A. So the question is, what is the need of Excel in FP&A? Mooney sir?
जी सॉरी.
Question is, what is the need of Excel in FP&A?
Need of Excel in FP&A. See, this Excel, or you can also replicate Excel with Power BI, is foundational. It is giving you an architecture, or it is giving you a foundation to kind of go and react, right? um, अगर मैंने जो आपसे एसएससी की बात की थी, सैप एनालिटिकल क्लाउड की बात की थी, यू विल बी सरप्राइज टू हियर दैट वो भी एक्सेल यूज करता है अपने सैप को इंटीग्रेट करने के लिए और अपने मॉडल्स को एक्सेल पे बनाता है. एंड दैट्स देन एफपीएनए रोल कम्स इन, वेयर एफपीएनए folks goes closer to the market and kind of drive the numbers and drive profitability. So that's foundational, and that will remain foundational. You call it, I mean, say you probably, I'm no more sending Excel files to my CFO, or probably my team is are sending me less Excel files. But for having the visibility of the data, for having the visibility of how the numbers are moving, Excel files and Power BI will there and will remain relevant.
Thank you very much, Ali Mooney Saab, and rest of the participants for joining us in this particular session. So can I request you guys to please open your cameras if possible so that we can take a group photo? No worries if you are not in offices. So if convenient, you can open your cameras, please. All right, so a lot of familiar faces as well. Okay, so can rest of the participants also open their cameras, please? Okay, so Ifat, can you take the picture?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay, all right. So thank you very much, everyone. हमारे साहब ने भी ज्वाइन किया है. So would love to hear Mone Saab, and thank you participant for their very candid questions as well. So thank you very much, everyone. See you in our
Thank
next
you,
session.
thank you,
All
thank you.
right, bye bye, bye bye.